My name is Susan Kayakri, and I am 34 years old. I still remember the sound of the boarding pass scanner beeping in front of me, that flat mechanical confirmation that the line was moving forward without us. The airport was packed, loud in the way only airports are right before a holiday. People were laughing, dragging suitcases, balancing coffee cups, wrapped in scarves and excitement. I was holding my daughter's hand, her little fingers tucked into my glove, when the airline agent scanned my ticket once, then again, then looked up at me with a pause that didn't belong. She asked for my ID, and I handed it over, already feeling something tighten in my chest. She typed for a moment, then told me quietly that my reservation had been canceled. Not delayed, not moved. Canceled. Like it was something I already knew. I told her that couldn't be right, that my entire family was on this flight, that we were supposed to be going together. She asked if someone else had booked the ticket for me. I said yes. My sister had handled the final confirmations. That's when the second agent gave me a look I won't forget. Not pity, not judgment, just understanding, like she had seen this story before. I stepped aside with my daughter, asking if we were getting on the plane yet. I told her just a minute and pulled out my phone. I texted my sister first. Nothing. Then my brother. Then my mom. No response. I looked up and watched them boarding. My parents near the front, my sister laughing with her husband, my brother tossing jokes around like he always did when he was excited. My daughter waved. No one waved back. Not one of them turned around. This trip had been planned for 2 months. Group chats filled with links and screenshots, pictures of the cabin with heated floors, a massive fireplace, a hot tub on the deck, snow forecasted for New Year's Eve. I was the third person to send in money. $1,300, split evenly, just like everyone else. It was supposed to be a week away from everything. Instead, I stood there watching the jet bridge swallow my family while I stayed rooted to the floor. When the last passenger boarded, the agent told me there was nothing she could do. I nodded, like I understood. My daughter tugged my sleeve and asked if we were still going on vacation. I told her no. Just that. No explanation. The Uber ride home was silent, except for her asking once if I was mad. I told her I wasn't. That wasn't true. Mad didn't even come close. I felt hollow first, then cold, then something sharper started forming underneath. At home, I sat on the edge of my bed and scrolled through our group chat. 4 days earlier, my sister had sent a message saying she would handle the final confirmations. No one questioned it. Why would they? She always handled that stuff. And this time, apparently, she handled me right out of the plan. Around 10 that night, after hours of ignoring my messages, she finally texted me back. It said, "You should be used to being left out by now." No warning. No explanation. Just that. I stared at the screen for 10 seconds before typing back, "Don't worry, your new year will be unforgettable." Then I got to work. They forgot who they were dealing with. They forgot how much of the family's finances ran quietly through me. Bills, subscriptions, auto pays, emergency accounts. I had been the one they leaned on for years without ever making it a conversation. That night, I logged into every shared account, changed every password, pulled every dollar that had my name attached to it. By the time I was done, I wasn't part of the family anymore. I was something else entirely, and that was just the beginning. They landed early the next morning. I know because my phone lit up with notifications I didn't need to open to understand. My sister posted one of those carefully staged videos she always favored. Snow drifting past the cabin window in slow motion, her coffee mug set just right in the frame, soft music layered over it like calm could be manufactured. The caption said something about finally breathing again. Minutes later, my brother uploaded a clip of the living room, exposed beams, fire crackling, someone laughing off screen. Probably my cousin. My mom was already wearing the fuzzy robe she'd mentioned 3 separate times in the group chat. They looked relaxed, untouched, like nothing had happened at the airport, like they hadn't boarded a plane without me and my child. I watched all of it from my apartment while my daughter ate cereal at the counter and asked if we could go sledding later. I said yes and smiled, not because I was okay, not because it didn't hurt, but because something inside me had shifted into focus. I had a plan now. They thought leaving me behind was just something I'd absorb the way I always had. They forgot I was the one who handled things. They forgot how much of their comfort rested on systems I quietly kept running. That first day, I didn't do anything dramatic. I wanted them comfortable. I let them settle into their fantasy, post their clips, toast their glasses, pretend they were living some picture-perfect holiday. I even gave them a full 24 hours of peace. Then I started small. I removed my debit card from the utility bills at my parents' house. My name was the only one on the auto pay. The lights wouldn't go out immediately, but the clock started ticking the moment I clicked save. Next were the streaming services. Netflix, Hulu, Spotify, Family Plan. Gone. I didn't just change passwords. I closed the accounts entirely. Every one of them tied to my email, my card, my name. They wouldn't notice until later, probably when they tried to put on a movie after dinner and the screen froze mid-scene. I could almost picture the confusion, the remote clicking, the silence that follows when something expected disappears. By noon, my phone started buzzing. A missed call from my cousin. I didn't answer. He texted asking if I'd changed the password to the expense document. I ignored it. Then my sister sent a one-word message. Seriously? I left that unread too. Silence has weight when people aren't used to it. By day 2, the cracks were starting to show. I got a voicemail from my mom, light and careful, saying they were having some issues with a reservation and asking if I'd updated something on my end. She sounded calm, but there was an edge under it, like she was trying to keep control with tone alone. She still didn't understand what was happening, or maybe she did and didn't want to name it yet. That night, it escalated. They tried to eat at a steakhouse in town, one of those places that prides itself on being hard to get into. My dad's card declined. Twice. The joint account he and I shared for larger expenses had hit 0. I'd emptied it. Their backup card, a PayPal I set up for them years ago, declined too. Then came the email from the cabin host to my sister, polite but firm, saying the second half of the rental fee hadn't gone through. They used my card for the deposit. They assumed I'd be there. Now my name was gone from the reservation, the payment failed, and my sister had to put her own card down. I knew she didn't have that kind of limit. She didn't post anything that night. In fact, she deleted the earlier stories. The fantasy cracked, just a little. On day 3, my brother left early. In the group chat, my mom said he had a work issue come up. I knew better. The savings account I helped him build to cover repairs on his truck, the one that was half mine, was closed. I made sure of it. On day 4, the alerts started. The mortgage account tied to my parents' house deactivated. The shared emergency fund, the one meant for sickness or sudden trouble, shut down. Every notification carried my name. Somewhere in it, even if they didn't understand why yet. That's when the texts started coming from outside the cabin. My aunt, my cousin again. People who never contacted me unless something was wrong. My mom finally messaged directly. What's happening? I read it once, then closed the app. They had relied on me for years, quietly. I was never the favorite. Never the loud one. Never the one posted about on birthdays. But I was always the safety net, and they cut me out of a plane I helped pay for. Now they were learning how it felt to fall without one. By day 5, my phone looked like a hotline. Missed calls stacked on top of each other, voicemails I didn't open, texts from relatives who never spoke to me unless someone was sick or something was broken. I hadn't said a word since the airport, not one explanation, not one accusation. And somehow that silence made everything louder. They were still at the cabin, snowed in, which I only knew because my cousin posted a video of the driveway buried in white with the caption, "Cabin fever is real." No filters this time. Even through the screen, I could feel the shift. The vacation glow was gone. This wasn't content anymore. This was damage control. Around 10 that morning, my mom called again. I watched it ring, then my dad, then my brother, then my sister twice in a row. She followed it with a text asking if we could please just talk. Not a single one of them said sorry. Not one acknowledged the airport or my daughter or the fact that they boarded a plane without looking back. At noon, my cousin sent something longer. He said the cabin host was threatening to cancel their final 2 nights if they didn't clear the balance. Apparently, the second charge attempt on my sister's card had failed, and the backup card, my dad's, was frozen. He said they were embarrassed and stuck. I didn't know what they were expecting from me at that point. They had thrown me out of the trip like I was luggage too heavy to bring. Now they were asking me to carry it anyway. Then the group chat exploded. My mom wrote asking if anyone could access the emergency account because the mortgage bounced. My sister replied that she couldn't even log in, that it said the account no longer existed. My brother jumped in asking what happened to the savings. Messages stacked on top of each other, panic bleeding through typos and half sentences. I didn't respond. I just watched. They were unraveling in real time. The structure they built their lives around, the one I had quietly maintained, was gone, not hacked, not sabotaged, removed, the same way I had been. That afternoon, my dad showed up at my apartment unannounced. I didn't open the door. I stood behind it while my daughter sat on the couch pretending to color, quiet in the way kids get when they know something serious is happening. He knocked once, then again, harder the second time. I waited. Eventually, he left. I watched him through the peephole walking back to his car with no coat on, shoulders slumped, like he had come looking for answers and found none. He didn't come to apologize. He came because they were cornered. My sister tried again after that. This time it was a wall of text. She said they were overwhelmed, that things had escalated too fast, that no one meant to hurt me, that I was taking this too far, that this wasn't how family behaves. She even said I needed to think about how this would affect my daughter, like she'd thought about her at the airport. There was no explanation for the cancellation, no acknowledgement of what I stood through, just pressure wrapped in concern. Later that night, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. It was the cabin host, sounding awkward, asking if there was any way I could reactivate the payment or transfer the booking. They'd been trying to verify funds for 2 days, she said, and the storm had made everything worse. The reservation was flagged for potential fraud. When I heard that word, I laughed out loud, not because it was funny, but because the irony was almost insulting. At dinner, my daughter asked why everyone kept calling. I told her that sometimes when people don't value someone until they lose them, they panic. She nodded like she understood, even if she didn't fully. She would someday. That night, I finally replied to my mom's last message. She had asked if I was doing this on purpose. I wrote back yes, and not even close to finished. Then I muted the chat, set my phone face down, and let them sit with it. They had 1 day left at the cabin, and I was just getting started. On their 7th and final full day at the cabin, the silence from their end became heavy enough that I could almost feel it through the screen. The trip that had been documented like a lifestyle blog, every snowflake, every meal, every fire lit just right, had gone dark. No stories, no updates, not even the blurry morning selfies my sister always posted pretending she had just woken up like that. I figured they were exhausted, maybe humbled, maybe starting to understand that something had shifted and wasn't shifting back. Then around 9 that morning, my inbox pinged with an email I wasn't expecting. It wasn't automated. It was a direct message from the property manager. Polite, professional, urgent. They had attempted to charge the outstanding balance 4 times. Every attempt failed. If the full payment wasn't received by 6 p.m., they would be contacting the local sheriff's department and pursuing the matter as intentional non-payment. I stared at the words longer than necessary, not because I didn't understand them, but because they carried a weight I hadn't planned for. I could have ignored it. I could have replied privately. Instead, I forwarded the entire email, header and timestamp included, straight into the family group chat. No caption, no explanation, just consequences, unfiltered. My phone lit up instantly. My mom called, then my dad, then my sister 5 times in a row, my brother, even my aunt from Florida. I didn't answer a single one. A blocked number came through, and this time I picked up because I already knew who it was. The county sheriff's office. The woman on the line was calm and direct. She said she was following up on a civil complaint regarding a luxury rental property, and that my name was listed as part of the original reservation. She asked if I could confirm whether I was still associated with the group. I told her the truth, that I had been removed from the trip without my knowledge, that I never boarded the plane, that I never stayed in the cabin, that I never received a refund. There was a pause on the line, the kind that means someone is typing notes carefully. Then she said she understood and thanked me for my time. That was it. 10 minutes later, my sister texted again, asking if I had actually reported them. I didn't reply. They were already doing that part to themselves. At 1:30, while I was helping my daughter pull on her snow boots so we could go to the park, someone knocked on the door. Quiet. steady. I looked through the peephole and saw my brother standing there. I hadn't seen him since before Christmas. He looked wrecked, hair messy, jacket half zipped, no smile. He was holding something in his hand. I opened the door because my daughter was watching. We sat at the kitchen table covered in crayons and sticker books. He said he didn't know they canceled my ticket. He said my sister handled it, and he honestly thought I backed out last minute. I told him I was standing at the gate, holding my child's hand, that my daughter waved at him while he looked the other way. He didn't argue. He just pulled out a check and slid it across the table. $1,300. My portion. He said to please just take it, that Mom was panicking, that people were talking about lawyers, that everyone thought I was going to get them arrested. I didn't touch the check. I told him this wasn't about money anymore. I told him it was about every time I was treated like a backup plan, every late-night call I answered to fix something I didn't break, every holiday where I was expected to contribute and then disappear. I told him this wasn't revenge. It was me stepping off the stage. He nodded once, folded the check back into his jacket, and left without another word. The next morning, the surprise hit. A local community site ran a short piece. Luxury cabin guests under investigation for unpaid rental fees during winter storm. There was a photo taken from the street, blurry but clear enough. My mom in her robe, my dad in flannel, my sister with her arms crossed, my cousin behind her. It wasn't viral, it didn't need to be. It landed exactly where it would hurt the most. Their town, their church circle, their curated social world. By noon, their profiles were wiped clean. Stories deleted, accounts locked. The group chat didn't just go quiet, it died. 3 days passed without a word. Then my daughter handed me an envelope someone had left at the door, no name. Inside was the same check, still uncashed, and a typed letter saying they had reviewed contributions and decided I wasn't entitled to a refund since I hadn't attended. It called everything a misunderstanding and suggested we move forward. I flipped the page over and wrote one sentence. Next time you want peace, don't create a war you expect someone else to clean up. I sealed it and dropped it in their mailbox on my way out. That Sunday, walking back from the park, my daughter asked why we always had to be the quiet ones. She said she didn't think it was okay when people lied or left us out and we just moved on. I stopped walking. I looked at her and realized she was right. That night, I booked a trip just for us. I booked the trip after my daughter went to bed, sitting at the kitchen table with the same calm I used to reserve flights for everyone else. Mid-January. A private cabin in Colorado. Real snow. Real firewood. A hot tub overlooking a frozen lake. Everything I had paid for before, but never actually experienced. No group chats. No shared accounts. No favors disguised as love. Just me and my daughter. When the confirmation email came through, I stared at it for a moment longer than necessary, then took a screenshot and posted it. Nothing flashy, no explanation, just a simple caption that read, "Paid in full, no passengers left behind." A few days later, we were in the mountains, laughing in the snow, drinking cocoa wrapped in wool blankets, watching the fireplace crackle while the wind howled outside. I posted pictures, not for attention, but for clarity. For once, I wasn't behind the camera making sure everyone else looked happy. I wasn't coordinating rides or splitting costs or fixing mistakes. I was present, and that felt unfamiliar in the best way. Each day, I shared small moments. Snowmobiles kicking up powder, my daughter baking cookies in the cabin's tiny kitchen, steam rising from the hot tub under a dark sky. I even posted the receipt from the dog sled ride, not to brag, to remind myself that I did this on my own terms. No one subsidized it. No one could take it away. The reactions were quiet, but obvious. Extended family watched the stories without commenting. My cousin reactivated his account and posted a vague quote about letting go of grudges. My mom somehow found a way to send a single heart emoji on one photo. I didn't respond. Then my sister posted a black square with white text about kind people becoming cold after being burned too many times. I didn't screenshot it. I didn't need to. I wasn't cold. I was clear. On our last night, my daughter asked if we could come back next year. I said yes without checking with anyone, without calculating who might be offended, without wondering if I was allowed. We were our own plan now. On the flight home, she fell asleep leaning against me, and I watched the clouds pass beneath us, thinking about how quiet everything became once I stopped asking to be seen. When we landed, I turned my phone back on. One message waited for me from my sister. It said, "You made your point. Hope it was worth it." I stared at it for a moment. Then I blocked her. Not out of spite, out of finality. There was nothing left to explain. This was never about revenge. It was about freedom. And I had never felt lighter.